it's time to take out a bite size out of pretentiousness. So, my curiosity got into me and I decided to watch Megalopolis. Yeah, I know this movie came out a few weeks ago and now I'm late for the show, but and I heard the rumors, I heard the review, got me curious and now I watch it. And funny enough is that I'm not a fan of Francis Ford Coppola. I think he's an overrated director. As far as I know, he only made one good movie at least in my bingo book, and that movie is Apocalypse Now. For a certain extent, I like the campiness of Bram Stoker Dracula, but the other movies that I have seen were garbage, like Jack and people are gonna hate me for this, The Godfather. I don't like The Godfather. I haven't even finished the movie. It was so boring that I fell asleep. So honestly, I kind of phantom, people saying that Francis Ford Coppola is kind of like one of the greater or something like that. And well, he decided to make this passion project that he even had to sell a business. He had to build up his own money. Okay, I can applaud a person with ambition. But I can applaud a movie that it is so full of itself that at the end of the day, this is probably one of the most pretentious movies I have seen this year. Granted, I could say that there have been worse movies I have seen this year, like American Society, the Madam Web, for Ghostbuster Frozen Empire, Joker, Folie Douce, and some others that I can pinpoint at the moment. There are some more movies that I could say that this is worse than Megalopolis, but honestly, it's up there. Megalopolis is actually one of the worst movies I've seen this year in terms of how full of itself it is. And not just because it's so full of itself, but I didn't like how it is just a mess of a structure. The characterization is garbage. The comedy, it lacks communication. It wants to emphasize a message, but it's just so preoccupied on looking pretty and looking artistic that it falls into the biggest trap of one of overambitious artists, in which they think that just because you put imagery and want to put a metaphor in it's called artsy and genius or something like that. This is the problem that people that call themselves genius falls a lot into it, and well, and at the end of the day, I just went there and I was so bored out of my mind that it was such a boring movie. I didn't get much about what is going on, or get thematic. I get it, but but there is no foundation. It is not grounded to make us believe and find some kind of meaning into it. Look, it's about this movie about this architect played by Adam Driver. He's an aspiring architect that he just wants to who apparently this whole movie wants to make a big metaphor of New York and comparing it to Rome, because of course, and people say that empires are like Rome, and Rome eventually is gonna fall, and they say that New York and this society is gonna fall. Very clever, of course, like that. And that is kind of like a little bit on the nose, and it wants to play subtle for the point of being in your nose. But anyway. Adam Driver, he's an architect. He's an architect. He wants to build this utopia. In Utopia that he wants to call Megalon or Megalopolis, but he's also butting heads with the mayor, who he thinks that everything is fine and all this stuff. The mayor is played by Giancarlo Esposito, and this is just kind of like a tiny bit of the problems that this movie had, because then they just want to cram out plot point after plot point, like plot points, and it kind of derails from the point that it wants to make. Then it kind of then turns into a love story between Adam Driver and Natalie Emanuel, who plays this girl named Julia. Oh, and you know what? If the movie is so full of itself that she's named her character is Julia, and an Adam Driver character is called Caesar. Julia, Caesar, Do you get it? You get it? I'll get to that. I'll get to that. There are some other characters that they go there and you kind of forget about this. There's John Boyd, Aubrey Plaza playing a character named Wow Platinum, who is kind of like this dart in which puts a plot point that she basically cheats on she married John Boyd only because then it turns into a scandal that is solved immediately. Then and there's also Shia LaBeouf playing the cousin who technically becomes a caricature of right wing liberalism, which I'll get there, and nothing is shown kind of like coherently. You only had one thing to show. The thing about two opposing ideas. One is idealist, one is kind of a little bit conformist, and they butt it out and how it affects the others. It wanted to do that, but it kind of derails into other things that it's modeled into confusion, and then we get kind of like this spectacle of artsiness, the cinematography, how it looks, and honestly, if you're mesmerized by saying that, oh, this movie is worth it because it looks so artistic and looks beautiful, you don't deserve to be an artist, an observant artist or critic, because honestly, it's like I said, pretty pictures is nothing if there's no foundation, and this is one of those. This is one of those that you just put the art just to look artsy. I mean, yeah, in hindsight it's beautiful, or maybe separately, but not if it doesn't feel like it is grounded. It's just, art for the sake of artsiness. It's just a thing that it kind of looks pretty, but in the inside shows the sloppiness of to hide the sloppiness of it. So honestly, this is why even when I say it in animation, even if you look pretty, it means nothing. And like I said, the whole pacing is kind of like boring. So the characters are just mishmash. There's kind of like a psychedelic sequences that goes nowhere. There's even this plot point in which apparently Adam Driver has the power to time stop, and he does it only like 2 or 3 times into the movie, and it contributes nothing to the whole thing. Oh, because it's a metaphor. Yeah, congratulations. You're full of yourself in which you try to put meaningful things in something that doesn't supposed to be meaningful. Sometimes sometimes metaphor, arts, and all that stuff. Yeah, it can be an artistic tool, but use it incorrectly, you look like a pretentious fool. And there's also kind of like this plot point that they build up this satellite and nothing. It's just nothing. And the whole thing, like I said, it wanted to become a metaphor to Rome. Everything is kind of like Rome. They say dialogue about Rome, and oh yeah, the dialogue is kind of like very cheesy to the point that is weird. It's weird. It feels like it's so pretentious that it's how can I say? There are people, looking like this, like it is Rome and all this stuff, but it mostly showcases the debauchery of, the modern society, and it wants to criticize it itself, but it doesn't bring exactly kind of like a solution. It builds up like saying, hey, I'm gonna build this utopia, even though many people are kind of against it. We don't see kind of like big consequences about it, and we don't know anything. It doesn't build up, and we kind of understand how this thing goes into another. We don't understand nothing. Nothing is. I just keep kind of repeating it. I just keep repeating in a lot of words, saying how meaningless this whole artistry went through, which is a shame. I know that there are talented people in there, but you can't make. But sometimes when you make art for the sake of art, sometimes have a point, or at least if you don't want to have a point, make a movie that has no plot, and just make an experience. And this one, it doesn't do that. It doesn't want to do it for the experience. It wants to put a kind of like a message for the experience, and very subtle movie that it wanted to recreate, modern society and criticize modern society, with people holding signs, like for example, For example, make New Rome great again. And then when the guy becomes a big a big revolutionary, he stands on a tree stump that looks like a swastika. I know where it goes. It's so full of itself. And by the way, we don't know nothing about the megalopolis that he wants to build. It's just kind of like this. Apparently he's just kind of like this art thing. It's almost like he just wants to build the whole city into apparently Tomorrowland. Even it's kind of like the more artsy Tomorrowland we could get. We don't know nothing about what his vision is. What is it trying to do? What is it trying to do? The guy can't even, for some reason, can't survive a shot on the eyeball, and man, that I don't know. This is so convoluted, and even the relationship between the Adam Driver and Giancario, it goes kind of like almost nowhere, and the resolution doesn't feel like it. It's just just kind of like swallow it, and it blends itself into boredom that it is a movie that is not even funny. You know what? Scratch that. There's only one funny moment in this movie, and that is when John Voight he basically tricks Shia LaBeouf that he has an erection, and then it just shows him this bow and arrow that he just goes like this. He just kind of has the puniest way to shoot the bow and arrow, and he shoots 2 arrows on Shia LaBeouf's ass. That's kind of like the only funny moment that it is, and then it has that pretentious movie that it feels like it wants to criticize the society that we live in, that it eventually is gonna fall, but there is no foundation. It just feels like a rich guy who he just showcased how people want to. We're kind of like Rome and everything, and even if you want that, the Roman metaphors is far in between that you don't even feel like it, and they're just artistry for the sake of artistry. And honestly, there's nothing worse than a movie that you feel like there's ambition, but just ambition and pretty pictures is not enough. You have to do it with at least with a grounded foundation, or else, well, everything collapsed, like Rome collapsed. I'm sorry, Francis Ford Coppola. I know you wanted to make this passion project, but it didn't work. And what you get right now, it's not a megalopolis. It's just a mega pretentious garbage.